Hey guys, it's Damien from Marketing Food Online. I hope you guys are having another amazing day as always. We're going to go over how to sell frozen food on Amazon. Question I get all the time, and actually one of the most popular videos that I posted recently was about selling and starting a frozen food business, but that video was not specifically about Amazon. So I have a lot of people asking, hey, can I start or can I sell frozen foods on Amazon? Well, the question is a great one, and it is definitely a possible profitable niche to get into. And the answer to that is a yes. You can sell frozen food or temperature-sensitive food, even produce, through Amazon. I'm actually going to give you some information about how it works when you have to apply for this program, when you apply for the gourmet food category on Amazon, and some of the documentation that they are going to possibly request from you, as well as a couple of tips on how to actually market. The idea of selling frozen food may sound good, but there are some ways that you really need to sell them in a certain manner to make it profitable, and some of the things you have to do and steps you need to take to make sure that you ship them properly, okay? So I have a few notes here on my sideboard here. I'm going to go over to cover, and then I'm going to be occasionally looking over there to take a look at the notes. And then I'm going to break down the information for you so you understand. So, number one, can I sell frozen foods on Amazon? Yes, you can. The things you need to do first is you need to sign up for the business seller plan. You need to become a registered business. You need to have insurance for the business. Now, this part right here I'm talking about does not have anything to do with Amazon, but when you apply to sell on Amazon, they will request this information, okay? So, also, keep in mind that Amazon may also, from time to time, they change what they need from you as far as what the information. So the time of this recording, I'm going to give you some ideas of what they will look for, but there may be other documentation that they may ask for. But I'm going to give you a breakdown of some of the basics on how to get started, okay? So you need to be a incorporated business. You need to have business insurance, okay? You need to also have a GFSI, which is the Global Food Safety Initiative certification. What that is a third party, aside from the Department of Agriculture, the USDA, or a local health department doing an inspection, or the, depending upon the county and city that you're in, there may be a different department, governmental department, that does a inspection of your facility. The GFSI certification has certain standards for food producers, manufacturers, and such, and that is a certification that you pay for yourself. And the GFSI is something that, when it comes to temperature-sensitive food products such as frozen food, perishables, meats, and things of that sort, there is a number of there's a number of rules that they have created, standards, if you will, that the GFSI inspector will look at. Now, I'm not going to get into GFSI inspections. I am very familiar with them. I've had those before, and I've also walked through those when I worked in retail food. They used to come in and do occasional inspections in some of the warehouses that we were in. So this video, I'm not going to get into what they are looking for because it will be dependent upon many of their own guidelines. But the GFSI certification is something that they will request. Once you have that done, you can present that to Amazon, as well as the other documentation of what I had just briefly mentioned about some of the basic things, being a business, making sure that you're insured, that you have a physical location, that you're not doing this, from the bedroom of your house or something, or if you're down the street doing it just on occasion. You have to be licensed, as well as all of the other additional city and county and state and federal licenses that you may need. So those are the types of documentation that they're going to request. Now, when it comes to actually selling a temperature-sensitive food product, such as a frozen food item, okay, you have to prove and show to Amazon what's called a chill chain. They are going to look at the entire process, if you will, from the time that you take that frozen food item and you put it into a box that is insulated, and it has to be temperature controlled. And now what I'm going to do for you guys, down below in the description, I'm going to set up and show you guys an example of products that are expected to be kept at a certain temperature, okay? And it's just a guideline. It's not an exact science. It's not. It's just going to give you really kind of a basic understanding of the different types of food products and the types of temperatures that are expected to be kept with those products in transit. Now, through the chill chain, what they're going to ask you also is, can you keep that food product in the worst case scenario that it gets delayed 5 or 6 days even, or if it gets delayed throughout the transit time, can the temperature of the product maintain the safety zone for temperatures that will not create or allow any type of bacteria, quality of the product to be deteriorated, the quality of the product and the packaging to be deteriorated due to heat or even extreme cold weather as well. But you have to show them the process, and it has to be kind of laid out as to how are you actually going to maintain the temperature of, let's say, a frozen dinner, okay? And you have it in a box, or if you have frozen vegetables, whatever it may be, that you have a certain box that is of a certain size, and based on the size and the type of insulated box that it is, as well as the type of ice packs, the amount of ice packs, the size of the ice packs, making sure that those keep the temperature at that ambient temperature, that range that it needs to be at, okay? Now, there's several reasons why they do this. Obviously, the first and foremost is the food safety factor, okay? So if you're getting into food, frozen food business, and you're shipping a box from, let's say, Florida to California, by the time it gets to California, it needs to still be at the temperature that it needs to be maintained at to be frozen. It can't be thawed out. It can't be partially frozen. So there's a food safety issue with that, okay? And again, I'm going to go over just a few of these basic things so you can understand the gist of it. I could sit here and talk to you for 2 hours, but I'll fall asleep and you'll probably fall asleep too. So what you want to do is that you're going to show in that chill chain, you're going to show Amazon that you've got the capacity and you've got a specific process set up, and you can guarantee that in the worst case scenario, when temperatures rise really high during the summer or springtime and you're shipping frozen food, is that it's going to arrive, and it's going to arrive safe and frozen, okay? Because obviously you don't want anybody to get sick, because you're going to get somebody sick and it's going to cause a huge problem. Number two, you want customers to come back to you, so getting the product to them frozen as they ordered it in the condition that it should be, you'll get a repeat customer, obviously. So basically, along any lines of a product, it could even be produce, it could be meat. I've even noticed that on Amazon, I saw someone who was a seller, it was actually in Maine somewhere, they sold lobsters, but it's kind of pricey, but they do sell lobsters that they have them delivered to your door. So they have to keep those things at a certain temperature for it to be safe, okay? Now, what I would recommend, and this is all part of the business process, is that if you have never done this before as far as shipping frozen food, if you're not familiar with packaging, the ice packs, and all of that good stuff, buy something from a seller. It may not necessarily be on Amazon. Go online, buy from somebody who ships frozen food. When it comes to you, find out exactly how they pack it. How do they put the ice packs in there? Sorry about that. Okay, so just make sure that you can actually see a sample. When I first started with the business, there was a few things I didn't know about shipping cakes. We make bundt cakes and a couple other things. I actually ended up ordering some stuff from a company that sold bundt cakes or sold cakes similar to what we do now. Because I bought it for a reason. I wanted to see how do they pack it. And once I got it, then it was like an aha moment. I'm like, okay, this is how they do it. That makes sense. Same situation. If you're wanting to get into this business, and this is a really quick a little bit of advice, depending on the type of business you want to get into, when you want to get into it and you don't know much about it, go ahead and get a product from someone who sells it similar to what you want to get into. That way you can take a look at it, no matter if it's frozen food or if it's bundt cakes, it could be something else. But if it's a food item, see how they pack it, how it comes, and how is it shipped. That way you can learn from that. That's a learning experience that you can take with you. So back to what I was saying, you want to basically experiment a little bit, understand if this is the first time you've started this, understand the basics on how to keep the temperature in a box at that level where it's not going to thaw out. It's not going to hinder the quality of it either. You know, products that, a good way to also check on some of these new food companies that are delivering the foods that you can, the dinners that you can make. I think Martha Stewart has one now. And there's a handful of other companies that have the meals delivered to your door. They use gigantic ice packs. And I'm not kidding you. It's probably about 18 inches long by about 8 or 9 inches wide. And it goes at the bottom. And then they have these styrofoam insulated, almost like cooler boxes. And that maintains the temperature of those products because they're shipping raw meats, fish, and a whole bunch of other vegetables and fruits. But they ship it like the next day air or second day air, okay? The packaging in some of these boxes are amazing. But remember that, again, if you're in frozen food, those temperatures have to be even below that. Now, a couple of tips, a couple of pointers I'm going to give you from experience. I ship out chocolate-covered products, chocolate-covered pretzels, chocolate-covered cookies, Oreos. We do a lot of corporate events where we do customized corporate Oreos, that type of stuff. So one thing that I've learned, and I had to do this from experience when I've had a few orders arrive not so good, is that I learned that in most cases, a lot of the temperatures need to be kept above the product. What do I mean by that? When you have a product inside of a box, on the bottom of the box, the ice pack should be on the top, not the bottom, because the colder air settles. Obviously, it's the colder comes down, it's heavier, and the hotter air is lighter, it goes up. You want to maintain the temperature from top down, not from the bottom up, because that's not how it works. So there's only two ways to maintain any type of product that is perishable in a box, okay? Two ways to maintain the temperature. You use either an ice pack or you use dry ice, okay? Some companies use specialty-made dry ice packs. Number one, very expensive. And number two, unless your customer knows how to deal with dry ice. And what do I mean by that? Is if anyone touches dry ice directly with their fingers, it will burn them, okay, if you grab it. Now, much of this dry ice that is commercially produced for food shipping is in protective bags. Well, the thing is that in some cases, again, the customer may not be familiar with how to handle that, and it could be very risky, and it could be a liability factor. I use ice packs. They are gel packs that maintain a coolness up to 48 hours, and we ship our products with a 2-day priority. So within that time period, chocolate, which is not really a perishable, but it's an item that can melt, ice packs on the top have been fantastic and have worked very well. Now, the other part is the size of the ice packs. They come in hundreds of sizes. This is where you have to experiment. You got to find out what is the right amount of ice to put into a frozen food product to be shipped from you to your customer, okay? That is where that chill chain that Amazon is talking about comes into play, because you need to understand that if you're shipping half a dozen boxes of frozen dinners, let's say, okay, that has to be kept at a certain temperature. So how many packs of ice, and how are you going to pack it? These are all the things you got to think about when you're doing a frozen food business where you're shipping the product. I personally, I'm going to tell you, I would not get into doing mail order, in a sense, like mail order or shipping frozen food products. I'm familiar with the frozen foods because when I was in high school and I worked in a grocery store, I actually worked in the frozen food department. So I was very familiar. They did a lot of training with us about temperature control and how to handle it, yada, yada, yada. So, but would I do that now? No, because there's like a million other types of food businesses and food products that can be shipped without having to deal with temperature control, okay? I don't want to steer you away from it if that's your thing. I'm just giving you some advice, and this video will give you some super basics on how to do it on Amazon's platform. So, with that being said, I would definitely look into a company that may already do it. Try it out, order something from them, and learn from that packaging process. Look at it and see how it's done, okay? That way you can kind of duplicate it, and it makes it a lot easier for you to understand how to pack them. Anything that has to be temperature maintained is going to have a little more risk to it when it has to be something that is fresh, like fruits or veggies, or if it's something that's truly temperature sensitive that could create bacteria, salmonella, and potentially hurt people, like raw meats or frozen foods. That's much, much more riskier. If you're chocolate-coated pretzels, the risk you run is having a chocolate melt, and the customer's obviously not happy or satisfied. That's about it, okay? The other thing is that maintaining the temperature for those is much different than it would be for a raw food item. So I hope this answers some of the most basic things about it. Again, I'll put down in the description a little bit of information on the temperature ranges for certain food products that have to be maintained. And if you want a little bit more about it, do ask me some questions down below. I'd be happy to shoot you a couple of emails and help you out. And as always, we've actually created, by the way, guys, our brand new platform-specific consulting. And what I mean by that is that we have a consulting set up for home-based food businesses, if you want to start that. We also have consulting set up, the email consulting for an Amazon platform, the eBay platform, and even Etsy, as well as nutritional labels. If you need a nutritional label created, we now have that available. We have FDA-compliant nutritional analysis broke down labels that will literally be set up, that I send you the PDF, you print it on your label, put it on your product, and you're good to go. So